Okay. Hello, everyone that is joining us and logging in. I'm Natalie Smith. I'm the Communications Manager for SoDA. Welcome to today's second special discussion because we were for Johnson. She is also the co-founder of the business model company. I'll let her formally introduce herself in just a second. Just want to mention a few logistical details before we dig in. If you heard when you were logging in, it's being recorded. The session's being recorded. So watch out for a link that I will send to you a little bit later so you can listen back to it in various forms and fashions. We have disabled your mics and cameras just to make it easier for Caroline, so there's not any interruptions, but we will for sure have time at the end to answer questions. We had some great questions yesterday. So if you have one, you can put it in the chat and I'll get to it at the end, or there's a Q&A pod, whichever suits your fancy. I'll be monitoring those and make sure that she sees them. So if there are no other issues or questions, I'm going to drop off from video, but I'll pop back in at the end when she's all done with her presentation. So thank you so much, Caroline. I'm going to have you take it away.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. And for everyone that's joined this webinar also, thank you very much for your interest and curiosity and desire to learn more about business model transformation, probably the biggest threat, issue, and opportunity facing our industry at the moment. Just a couple of words of introduction before I get started. My name is Caroline Johnson. I'm the co-founder of the business model company. For the last 9 years, we have been running business model transformation programs, shifting our clients' businesses from service to value or service to solutions, which involves a complete rewiring of the system. I'm going to talk to you for 40 minutes and then allow 20 minutes for questions. We ran this session yesterday. It seemed to work really well. I can't see you and I won't see the questions either. So we're going to rely on Natalie to come in, step in at the end and help facilitate the questions. Let me share my screen and we'll get started. Right. Hopefully everyone can see that. So the topic is insights from the front line of business model transformation. What I want to ensure I do is not talk about the problem or how difficult this is, but give you absolute clarity on what are the imperatives, what should you pay attention to. If you're going to get it wrong or make mistakes, where are those do's and don'ts? And what do we see separates businesses who are able to pretty seamlessly transform their models and the ones that find it incredibly hard? So let me set up the topics. I could do 20 of these. I could talk all day. Luckily for you, I'm not going to. But I've just picked five that I think are quite interesting and also will give you hopefully a fresh perspective rather than going over the same old that you've heard so many times before. So the insights that I'm going to reference and talk through with some examples and models and some tools for you. The first one is that any business model shift, transition, transformation requires a full ecosystem change. And I'm going to set that up for you and explain what happens when we don't approach it in that way. The second area that we're going to talk about is change the language to change the game. The third is value starts when the doing has been done. The fourth one is repackage for scale, but particularly for authenticity. And then how you reflect in your business models what we call the less is more economy. So let's start with the first one. What I need to do here is very quickly visualize a business model for you. So we talk about the business model as a living ecosystem. It is full of your values, your beliefs, and it's full of behaviors. It operates at a cultural level, and the three corners of that business model are how you create value in the market and for your clients. So your positioning, proposition, go-to-market story, capability, how you deliver that value, which is your operating system and talent models, and how you capture that value, which is how you monetize that capability and your commercial models. So the old service model, which we refer to as the goodwill service model, is completely out of alignment with what clients, what brands need and are asking for, and also reflecting what is happening in the marketplace. As an industry, we tend to put a lot of effort, time, and creativity in changing the story in create value, changing the positioning, repositioning, developing new propositions. But we don't put the same amount of time and creativity into the operating system and the capture value, which is the commercial models and the commercial language. So what tends to happen is as the market and as clients more and more are calling for simplicity, efficiency, transparency, all of those attributes, we have a delivery engine that runs on more is more, and we have a capture engine, the monetization, which also runs on more is more. So less transparency, less efficiency, less simplicity, less opaqueness actually drives those two engines. So there's significant misalignment. As we move forward and we look at future business models, those business models that thrive in the new economy that we're going into and the new marketplace, those are client-centric business models. They are built around client needs, and they best reflect the market and the market conditions. The create value will have a completely new language. You will be talking less about commoditized services, which are hard to differentiate, much more about packaged solutions, and also your commercial story as commercial partners with real responsibility and accountability for where and how clients invest is likely to come to the fore. On deliver value in a more productized, program-led or tech platform business model, there's going to be much more standardized delivery. There's going to be a lot of playbooks that are published, and internal talent models are now going free range. So there are talent ecosystems that you can benefit from in different markets, different capability areas. Once again, if you have a playbook, you'll be able to take advantage of that. And then on the capture value, commercial models, which are completely aligned to your client's needs with a new commercial language. And those commercial models are likely to be supporting productized solutions and programs. The point here is not so much do we all understand business models. The point here is if you change anything in one corner, that change has to be reflected in all corners. You can't just change the story and not change how you deliver or how you monetize, and vice versa. And we're going to talk about technology investment in a few slides, and that will come back to this triangle. I always think of it as the blood, as the heart at the top, the blood on the bottom right, and the lungs on the bottom left. So we get asked a lot, what are the business models you're working in? What are people adopting? Where are they moving to? What are the future-proofed business models for our industry? What do we have to learn, and what do we have to invest in? There are sorry, that's my phone, which was on silent, but not on my computer. the three business models that we are doing the most work in are managed services, productized solutions, and advisory slash consulting. Managed services is normally going to market with different packages, and that can also be platform based. Productized solutions is a productized model, and advisory consulting is best packaged up in terms of program-led solutions. So let's move forward and talk about changing the language to change the game, because those business model shifts, wherever you are heading, whatever is right for you, is likely to require learning a new language. And this is again, it's a cultural behavioral issue. If we have a look at where we're going from and to, a lot of our industry has been stuck bottom left. And a lot of the productization that we see is actually productizing services. It's still keeping the methodology, the description of what you do, your processes, that's still in play. But it's packaged more up as a product with perhaps some value pricing or premium pricing. That productizing down in the bottom left does not work. It doesn't change the game. You are still playing in the commoditized service space. You just happen to have premium productized services. The shift, and this is changing neighborhood, changing game, is to move from bottom left to top right. And the future creative businesses, media businesses, marketing service businesses that thrive in the future are businesses that their business model, their actual business model in its full ecosystem sits top left. At the moment, what's happening in our industry is our business model is staying bottom left, but our investment is going top right. And that causes a drag, which I'm going to show you in a moment. So not for all of you, because I know on this webinar, there'll be businesses reflecting all areas of business models and our industry, but predominantly in our industry, the shift we're making is from bottom left to top right. And that starts by appreciating and understanding that to do that in an authentic way, then you are moving from a service neighborhood to a value neighborhood. And you are changing the rules of the game that will apply to you. The switch in language as you change neighborhood is going to be from the language of we will do to the language of you will have. So you are moving from talking about your process, your effort, your services, to the language of you will have, which is talking about the solutions that you deliver to solve your clients' challenges and to solve problems, as well as realize opportunities that they have in the marketplace. The first thing to think about is who is the hero of the story. When you are bottom left in the sort of service neighborhood, it is likely that you are the hero of your own story. And in a commoditized marketplace, that is completely normal. It means that the stage you stand on and the stage you compete on, the language you are going to use to compete is likely to be, we are better or we are different. We are better might be faster, it might be cheaper, it might be smarter. But you're competing on we are better, or you are competing on we are different, which comes from we are better. It doesn't cut through because ultimately you are in that commoditized marketplace. The switch, and to start thinking of the switch, It's going from you being the hero of your own story to your clients being the hero of their story. Your job is to give your clients superpowers, to innovate, to outperform, to deliver more for less, whatever it might be. You are charging your clients, their markets, their audiences with the superpower of creativity, and you are going to be defining those client archetypes and those buyer personas at their aspirational best. So in a value culture and a value neighborhood, you will be better. Your market will respond, your audiences will move. That is the language, and you will be talking about your solutions designed for client need. So let's talk about what happens with investment and all the investment we're making. So again, you'll see this in your businesses, you'll see this across the whole industry. Significant investment in technology, in automation, in all of the capability that we feel we need. However, investing in technology is not transformational if your business model still stays bottom left. And the reason I can say that is you will see for yourselves as I explain this, there is a significant investment drag. If the service model dominates bottom left, it's not enough just to invest top right. What happens is that technology investment gets dragged back to the service language and behavior and culture, and it starts competing on the same stage of we are better, we are different. So if you look at a lot of the investments that are being talked about across our industry, significant investments, they are talking the language of our technology is better or different because it's removing hours, because it requires less effort. It's cheaper because we've removed hours. You're competing in the bottom left. You've missed the opportunity to take your business model and marry it to technology investment so you can go to market and actually sit in the right neighborhood and therefore play in the right game. I hope that sort of analogy makes sense to you, because it's something that we see all the time. So let's go to the third insight, which is value starts when the doing has been done. Again, this is about that shift. It's a very simple thing that you can apply immediately. This is one of our clients' service lists. We have hundreds of these. This is a list of stuff. It is you will have many of you will have a version of this, but you'll have your own services on it. This is a mixture of departments, roles, processes, things to utilize and monetize. This is the world of commoditized services. So productize that. You cannot productize this list. If you productize this list or package it into programs, you're taking services to market, masquerading as products and programs with a high price tag. You are still sitting bottom left. Your clients will still apply those neighborhood rules. And that's why a lot of people will say, what happens when you take a product to a client and they say, well, show me the hours, show me the people. It's because you haven't shifted neighborhood. So the language shift is really simple. It's to go from competing on a stage of we are better, we are different, we are nicer, we service you more, and justifying your process, which is we will do this, we will do that, to a language that is focused in your client's hands. It's focused on value created. You can expect, your markets will, your audiences will, society will, culture will, whatever it might be. The doing is on the left, the value is on the right. So when you change neighborhood and you start talking about programs and products and solutions, be very careful and ensure the language only starts when the doing has been done. Otherwise, you're describing your process and you're back in the service neighborhood and service culture. The other thing to think about is what I would call empty delivery vehicles. On the left, we have processes. We have workshops, audits, reports, plans, strategies, mapping, analysis. I could go on. These are actually empty delivery vehicles. If you try and productize these, you're productizing an empty wine bottle. You're not productizing the wine. These are internal delivery vehicles as a way of delivering value. They're vessels, they're containers. Again, don't talk about the vessel or the container. That is the empty wine bottle, and because it's an empty wine bottle, it is commoditized. It's very hard to compete on we are better, we are different if you're talking about an empty wine bottle. You need to talk about the wine, and what I mean by that is the experience, the emotional connection, the value created or experienced. So value realized might be connectivity, performance, compound growth, new models, white spaces, automations, efficiency savings. It's actually in the hands of the client. So repackaged for scale and authenticity. The repackaging is really for authenticity. If you are changing the game and changing neighborhoods and you recognize noisy neighbors, bad landlords, falling house prices, if you recognize that neighborhood, you're going to want to get out of it. The way to do that is to start repackaging your business around new gateways into your business for your clients, not service lines, not inside out, but outside in. And actually think about establishing authentic separation of models. Now, we call that front doors. And some of you would have heard me talk about this many times before. It's much easier to scale a business top down than bottom up. The reason for that is if you look at the bottom up, I think of this as a game of dominoes. And these colored bricks with different colored dots are dominoes. I always think about this as you're playing a game of dominoes and you're trying to win that domino game with my dominoes are better than your dominoes, or they're brighter, or they're smarter. But ultimately, it's a game of dominoes. The bricks are all the same. The colored dots are all the same. The only way you can compete in the domino game is through giving things away for free, over pitching, reducing your profit, charging less, giving more. It's really hard to shift from that neighborhood. By far the quickest and easiest way to do this is to elevate everything up. So do an outside in and a top down. And that means repackage your business around client archetypes, business challenges to be solved where you are natural leaders in that. Establish your front doors for your clients. Those front doors are your clients' gateways, pathways into your business and the value you can create. Transfer ownership of front doors away from yourselves to your clients. And behind those front doors, package your program solutions and fulfill those program solutions with beautiful products. And those products are fulfilled through the capabilities and services. But you're not going to market by saying our dominoes are better than your dominoes. It's a different game. And what that means is that you can also give yourselves more authority and not wait for pitches and briefs, for the old service-centric doorbell to ring with give us a pitch, give us a brief. Give yourselves more authority by how you design those front doors and how you create a commercial proposition for how clients can work on a virtual loop, how your clients can work on a virtual loop, where each door is returning and realizing significant commercial outcomes that build as you go across. This is an example I can use to show you what I'm visually talking about here. This is a service door. It says digital agency. It could say creative agency, media agency. It could say any of those. But it is one doorway in, hasn't changed in a long time, and all the investment, talent, and capability is attached to effort and process behind that door. It's actually a really hard door to break free from. And the way you could think about doing that is to separate value. And you separate value by understanding your client challenges, the buyer personas, the client voice. Make your clients the hero of their story. Use your capability to give your clients superpowers. Be really clear about how clients engage, how they enter into your value. To play in a different game, you need to be legitimate with your clients and you need to have separation. You can't run a program and product model from that service doorway. You are still in the wrong neighborhood and you haven't changed the rules of the game. So you'll likely get frustrated. So we visualize this by thinking about scale. Think about scale. Think about all three doors being gold, gold, gold. This isn't a timeline. It's not today, tomorrow, the future. We definitely don't have time for that. These are all gold standards and they are all gateways, pathways into your business for your clients at their aspirational best. And your job is to give them the products, the programs, the creativity for them to be able to be at that aspirational best and be the hero of this story. These are just some examples of how you can start thinking about repackaging value for your clients. So just to sum up, because that's a lot of me talking. The outside in, top down approach, which we advocate as by far the fastest and easiest way to scale and shift business models, is start with client archetypes, create those buyer personas, attribute hero status to those buyer personas. Then establish your front doors as the gateways in for those buyers, for those client challenges. Define the problem or the opportunity you then need to solve to give them superhero status, and then package that up as your productized solutions and your program solutions. Support that on the right operating system. Different front doors will have different operating systems, and they'll probably have different range of commercial models attached to them. But that's where you get authenticity as you go to market, because a product model can't sit next to the all-you-can-eat buffet. It just is not credible. So that's why the separation and changing neighborhoods is so important. I've got an example here of really good buyer personas. These are, by the way, this is from a website of one of our clients. This is them repackaging their business away from services. They have the same services as everyone else. This is the invitation on the website for brands and advertisers, their clients, the market, to come into their website and pick and explore different front doors for them, where they enter a whole world of value. So there's the performance upgrade, the brand elevation, and the sustainable advantage doorways designed for clients to be attracted to all three. It shouldn't be pick one. It should be all our clients engage across all three at different times. But look at these heroes. In the performance upgrade front door, the results driver is the hero of this front door and hero of their own story. This is their story. The language is extremely seductive. It's emotional language. It is creating an extremely powerful client buyer persona. This buyer persona is known as the results driver. Who doesn't want to be a results driver? This is the performance upgrade front door. In the brand elevation front door, the buyer persona is the brand believer. Again, hugely progressive, innovative, and a really attractive, appealing, engaging language that brings out the best in that persona. And then sustainable advantage, the future builder. There's no we words here. There's no services. There's not a mention of we do this, we do that. We are better, we are different, does not exist. It's gone. This is a completely different go-to-market story, and that's because it's in a different neighborhood and a different game. Also, it's likely that your operating system will need a new process, and that process is best written for your clients, for the value you can deliver at different stages. It has to now be flexible and modular. You can't count on 1 to 5 being always in play. You might sit in 1 across your front doors. You might sit in 1 and 2. Another partner might do 3. You need flexible modular operating system where clients can engage at different times and extract value. But you need to ensure that you can monetize, because you're not rushing to 3 and 4, which have been the typical bigger monetization areas in the past. So reflecting the less is more economy. And what I'm talking about here is it's not going to be possible going forward to compete if your delivery model and your monetization model are about counting hours, delivering services that are based on process, internal process, because that comes from this notion of how much effort, and how much effort comes back to the notion of we're selling hours, we're not selling value. So technology, AI, automation, all of that is going to take hours. It's going to take effort. So that leaves if we don't change and shift, we've got a massive vacuum. So our delivery model, our operating system, our talent models, our commercial models, our commercial language, that all has to be aligned to the market. And we want operating systems that are about codification, repeatability, standardization, and they have some repeatable systems in them, creating playbooks. The commercial models are going to be much more built around programs, platforms, license, memberships, managed services. And there should be a whole suite of commercial models that are perfectly in harmony and in tune with the solutions and the programs or products that you are taking to market. So just to give you a very quick insight into the difference between a productized service and a product. I've talked about language, I've talked about neighborhoods, I've talked about games, I've talked about services masquerading as products and then being found out. I've talked about the need for separation to achieve authenticity and legitimacy. If you acquired as an acquisition yourselves a beautiful technology business that was native tech, maybe it's data, maybe it's an analytics business, but you're buying a native tech business. When you buy that business, you would not expect your clients to turn around to that business and say, can I have your timesheets? Can I see your resource plan? Where are your services? Because your clients buy tech, program, product, consulting, platform all day long. If they know those businesses are authentic and legitimate in their commercial models, then they apply different rules. It's only when they see us as a service business masquerading with product program, but still fundamentally the business model is still dominant in that bottom left, that we get pushed back. And that's why there's so much pushback about procurement wouldn't let us, our clients wouldn't allow it. It comes from legitimacy. That's what that is all about. So I've covered so much of this, but we are not productizing on the left. We're not repackaging on the left. This is bottom up and it's inside out. We're doing the opposite of that. So this is just a sort of from to sum up the picture and some of the aspects that we've covered. But, you know, basic things are missing. Things like, you know, an agreed and standardized product selection checklist. Do we know what's a product, what we're going to invest in and what we're not going to invest in? When you open up a product, it would have all of these things built in. All of these things are absolutely foundational for a product and a program. All of this will be published in a playbook. Each product should have its own playbook, which is a plug and play playbook, which can go to any team, any market, any talent bench in the world. Pillars of the new operating system. This is not an operating system webinar, but there are some basic principles of new operating systems and new roles that you would need to hire for. And again, new language around roles as well. But this tends to be a net profit, net margin first operating system. It's not a revenue first operating system. That's gone. You won't be able to compete on revenue first anymore, but you can compete on margin first, which allows you to deliver really beautiful, valuable, shorter pieces of work and engagements with clients, but no, you take your profit off the table at the beginning. So suddenly that opens up your revenue model as well in different ways. So that was I'm just looking at the time. Perfect. That was the run through of 1 to 5, and we've got now plenty of time for questions. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you again. Super interesting and informative, just like yesterday. While we wait for some questions to come in, do you have any tips on how you make your clients superheroes? Like, how do you know you get that right?
You need to think about them as the challenges that they have. So the superheroes we create, we would look at the future builder, we'd look at the collaborator, we'd look at the truth teller, we'd look at the shapeshifter. You know, someone has to a client who has to reflect almost daily changes in trends, in culture, in the market, in competitors. You know, that is a shapeshifter, and you can think if that shapeshifter and is going to truly reflect the market shifts, changes, competitor moves on a daily basis, what can we give them as their superpower to be that best shapeshifter? And then you think about your capability in a different way. All of you on this call will have really fantastic heroes for your clients if you start thinking about it in that way. And it's a really lovely way to go to market.
Another question, with the language shift, and you talked about it being a cultural shift as well, what are the best ways to implement those changes? Potentially if there's like some pushback?
In terms of pushback with your clients or pushback internally?
Internally.
Well, I think to avoid the pushback, there needs to be alignment and commitment first. Again, this is even the language is a whole ecosystem shift. So you've got to take that triangle, which represents the living ecosystem of your business model, and shift it up. If you get pushback, it's because you haven't yet achieved the alignment and the commitment for the move. Because the pushback on the language means that you've got people that just have not had the time or have not been able to be brought on board to that.
Sure. Brian has a question. Can you elaborate on the commercial model shift? Are you referring to fixed price offerings, outcome-based deals, etc.? How have your clients changed their pricing models?
So that's a great question. The commercial models that we most work with and in are fixed price or value price for products and programs. But that pricing is distanced and completely disconnected from the costing. The most important thing here is you don't end up doing cost plus, which is what you've been doing already, but with a slightly higher margin, but you're still building it on a cost plus. So you need to know your investment cost to deliver a product or a program. But then your market pricing should be set on a value score of 1 to 5. It should be centralized. And you should have a minimum threshold for that first value score 1, which would be your lowest price that you would go to market with. You want to have at least a 30% margin between your investment cost with fully loaded overheads, marketing, new business, senior time, client onboarding, all the usual overheads. So you need to have a distance between what I call the full fat investment cost, including technology investment, and your actual pricing. And there's normally the minimum distance between the two would normally be a 30%, but that 30% is pure EBITDA and pure profit, because your overheads and all your investment costs are covered in the investment. Sorry, this is going into probably way too much detail, but
Great.
avoid cost. Don't do cost plus. And the outcome-based pricing, I think works really well if you do it as a co-investment. And about 10% maybe of your client engagements and your client relationships could, between 10 and 15% could be on a co-investment deal, where you accelerate their ability to be in market because you are investing your technology and your expertise really early on, rather than waiting for budgets for next year. And therefore you take a share of the outcome, but you have to be in control of those outcome measures.
Hopefully, Brian, that answered your question. Mike is wondering, how do you see AI impacting pricing models and general solutions selling?
If the business model is set right, AI thrives in solution selling, and it is a massive driver of efficiency and profitability. Because in solution selling, you're not focused, you're not monetizing or attaching value to process and effort. So the fact that you can deliver that process and effort in a second is a huge advantage to you and your clients. It's a win-win. So there is no threat in a program-led, product-led, and also a consulting-led or advisory-led model. The threat is when you're in cost plus, or you're going to market with services, whether they're productized or not, because then there is real misalignment and tension between the efficiency and effort saving and what you're trying to monetize.
Okay, here is a question on almost similar to the pushback question. We're going through a business model change journey, but are struggling with the organization being open to change. We are approximately 15% of the overall business, in parentheses, about 500 employees, and are challenged to get our centralized, also in parentheses, centralized commercial and operational teams on board with our new direction. What advice do you have for business model change when it's not the entire company going through the change, at least not initially?
That is, again, a really good question and a really difficult situation. I mean, in an ideal world, change is committed to at the top of the organization, and there is a change agenda or change mission in place. And then in that sequence, you can take change to an area of the business. But if you go back to the business, the business model is a body. You can't, it's really difficult to change one area without changing the whole thing, because you'll headbutt up against old language, old behaviors, old values, old beliefs. So you're trying to create a new system, new neighborhood, but you're building that new house in the old neighborhood. And that's so difficult. I mean, I really feel for you in that situation, because that hasn't been set up as the conditions that have been applied to you for this initiative have not are not as best that they can be.
Yes. Sort of similar to that, we talked about this yesterday. There was a question about kind of biggest hurdles, chief issues that people face when they're doing this. Are there others that you can mention that you see come up time and time again?
The one thing I can tell you for absolute sure, for certainty, all of you, and this every single one of our clients will say this, when we start this process, everyone thinks the difficulty, the threat, the pushback is outside in the market. It's natural to think that your hardest challenge in changing your business model is with your clients, old and new, procurement. It's in the marketplace. It is absolutely not true. If you approach it with absolute authenticity, it will work and you will be fine. Clients will buy it. The biggest challenge is in your own culture. It's the embedded systemization of the mindsets that we work in. That is by far your biggest challenge. And I think some of the great questions we've had are also touching on what do we do about this. The devil is within. The challenge and the change, the hardest thing you will face is internal, no question.
A couple more. Oh, Mike is making me work for my money today. Do you have a view on the time horizon in the obsolescence, that is a big word to read on camera, of commoditized service business model?
Oh, great question. The the creative service model that has been used to charging hours and time is running out fairly quickly. That model, it's not that it's completely disappearing, it is being repurposed into a managed service model. So I think there are two choices. One is you probably think we can keep the lights on for another 6 months, maybe, and then it's possibly not worth having. But if you are at all interested in still working in those areas, then it's allowing automation and technology to do as much process and effort, moving the talent upstream so the creativity and the strategy are elevated. So the technology is in service to the expertise and a higher value proposition. And then that can be packaged up on a managed service basis. And and you can use different commercial models for that. So it can be reborn, but again, it will come down to an individual appetite basis for what you want to hold on to and what inevitably you're prepared to let go of.
Awesome. Kim's got another good question. What are some best
These are
practices
good
for
questions,
creating?
everyone. Really,
They really
really.
are.
Sometimes I
And
get
maybe,
asked really not very good questions. These are great questions.
yeah. So round two is definitely doing pretty well in that area. So Kim's question is, what are some best practices for creating champions of the business model change? And I think she means they're not the people architecting or implementing the change. So there's kind of a little bit of a disconnect with that. So what would you say, what are tips and things that you would suggest?
I think we always advocate that you need to create some sort of change icons within the business, and they need to sit at different areas within the business. So we always, depending on the makeup of your businesses, you always want to have commercial involved, you want to have strategy involved, you want to have creative involved, you want to have plant management, plant service, operations. You want to create sort of change advocates in different areas of the business. And then as we go through the change, we create playbooks. And those playbooks are used to mirror the journey that team have been on in the chapters that we go through. So you don't want to store up a whole change journey and then do a big talk and a big reveal. That is way too much because you haven't afforded the people the time to shift mindsets, behaviors, and learn a new language. So you have to sort of almost mirror what you would go through internally and do it sort of chapter by chapter.
Good answer. Yesterday we talked, somebody had a question about time frame. I thought it might be worthwhile to mention. You had some good insights on like what's too little and maybe what's too long and how long this should take.
What, from yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay. If I don't know the sizes of all your businesses, but as an average, you are very unlikely to do this in less than 6 months, and that means working on it diligently all the time. So anything that is a, 3 months, you can make changes, but you won't shift neighborhood. And if you're doing this for 18 months, you're taking too long because that tells me it's not being led properly and it's not being prioritized. So the window that we discussed yesterday was somewhere between 6 and 18. So, most of the businesses we work with will hope for a year. They'll expect a year, and if they come in around a year, maybe slightly over, then they feel, yeah, they feel they've got there fast enough, but they've done it properly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Good. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Otherwise, you're doing cosmetic changes. You're changing the story, the positioning, the proposition, or at worst, you're buying more dominoes. Be careful that your growth strategy or the way you differentiate yourself and go to market is not playing the domino game. Your dominoes are not better than anyone else's dominoes. They are in your eyes, but from our eyes, we're all playing dominoes. We've all got coloured dots. Saying our blue dots are brighter than your blue dots, or cheaper or faster, is not the game you should be playing.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Does anybody have any final questions while we still have her? And I assume if you have a follow-up question or something that comes to you after, let me know and I can put you in touch with Caroline. She's on LinkedIn. And as I,
Yeah,
yep,
I respond
she's
to
a,
emails. Just reach out to me.
yeah. Well, if everybody is good, then I'm going to say thank you so much again. This has been such a pleasure, super interesting. We got great feedback from our group yesterday, and I assume the same since they asked great questions. Watch
Great.
for my email of, yep, you're getting an applause. I don't know if you see those emojis, but I will send the recap once it uploads to the cloud. So sometime later today. And yes, thank you so much. This was fabulous.
Thank you.